Welcome to another episode of What to Say and How to Say It. I'm Nina Rosner, and I'm here with Kyle Hargrove, our favorite licensed professional counselor. Today, we're going to be talking about where we jump off the track in marriage. There's a lot of things that we take for granted, we think should be easy, we're not even paying attention to, and then we're surprised. And then how we respond to those things really, really matters and determines whether or not our train is going to hit the station, so to speak, or if it's going to get derailed and fall over on the side of the track somewhere in the middle of Montana and not be seen for 5 years. That happens. So maybe not 5 years, but it's a thing. If you don't pay attention to these things, if you don't have a different mindset around them, what's going to happen is you are going to get throttled by these things when they show up. And Kyle's got a list of them. None of them will be surprises to you, but think about it when you're listening to this, how this impacts your relationship and what your typical response is. So, Kyle, where is it that our train is derailing commonly?
It's funny you mentioned, does or asked the question, does the train even reach the station? And it reminded me of a statistic I saw last week about electric cars. And it said that 95% of all electric cars made are still on the road. And the other 5% actually made it home.
Oh, oh,
So,
that's
yeah,
funny.
yeah, I
Yeah.
went there.
Okay.
But and anyhow, that yeah, it can I give you a little background on
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
why
Bring it
this
on.
came about? I was watching a podcast last week of whose I cannot recall. Is that not, aging non-gracefully? I
Common.
cannot recall whose podcast it was, but the host asked his guest a question, and the first thing the guest said is, "Well, American culture is following the path of least resistance." And of course, in my mind, yeah, that's right. Amen. Whatever. And just a few seconds later, it was like the big Chinese gong, dong, wong, 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 and it wouldn't stop. It's like, holy smokes. That is such a huge statement. And it's such a true statement. And all you have to do is open your eyes to see it. Some people choose not to.
Right.
Some people choose to ignore reality. But for those of us that are going to deal with reality and make whatever time we have left on this planet the best it can be, then we've got to pay attention. And paying attention to the sliding of our culture and what has been deemed as okay and useful and appropriate and practical that just has me pulling what's left of my hair out.
Mhm.
It can easily become overwhelming and even depressing. And so I've had to just monitor myself and even moderate how far I go and how much I look into this and read and watch,
Mhm.
because there are hundreds of examples of the sliding of our culture all over the place. Um, like anything else, if we're looking for something specifically, we're going to find a lot of examples of it. And so I'm having to kind of taper it and knock myself back a little bit and say, okay, I think I've gotten the point. I've got the point in me, and I need to be careful in how hard I go after that point with other people.
Mhm.
But anyhow, yeah, I've just kind of compiled a list of some of the things in marriages and relationships where this sliding of the culture and this, seeking a path of least resistance. In other words, let's do what's easiest,
Yep.
what requires the least effort, what is most fuel efficient. Let's do the easiest thing and it'll all work out. Hey, it worked out for our parents. They weren't experts either. Well, some parents it worked out for, some it didn't. um, and leaving important things up to chance. No, because when we leave important things up to chance, we're saying, okay, I got a 50-50 shot. No, and I'll tell you the reason why. in my humble opinion. When the loser sees a believer leave something up to chance, he inhabits that space
Mm,
because it becomes a weakness
yeah.
and it becomes a place where he can root himself and navigate influence
Hmm.
on people who are truly believers
Yeah.
and they don't even know it's happening.
Yeah, it's always a slow slide. And it's been, I mean, did God really say? And here's this thing that's half true. And then, it's all the way back to the garden. This is human nature, but wow, we're a mess right now. And I think it would do us some good to normalize what is common for people to struggle with in marriage because we're
Exactly.
victims of Pinterest. I mean, social media's got, oh, it's so pretty and shiny and perfectly decorated. And guess what? It's not. It's just not. It's hard. Hard to have a good
Now,
relationship and it's work.
now I made pozole on Super Bowl Sunday for a group of people that were in my house off of Pinterest. Does that make it bad?
I don't know what you said. Did you sneeze? What did you make?
Pozole.
What is that?
It's a soup, a Mexican soup, and
Okay.
it ours had chicken and hominy and tomatillos. Do you know what a
Hmm.
tomatillo is?
I
You live in
grow
Ohio.
tomatillos. Yes.
Okay, all right,
Yeah,
all right. I
yeah.
wasn't sure.
I know you're in Texas and you have, but we every night is Taco Tuesday here. Like
Okay.
any night's a good night for tacos. I could totally live in Texas. The
Yes,
food's amazing.
it does. It does us well. I mean, I just have to.
Yeah.
Yep, we get around it.
So, okay,
But
so you made, oh, I've derailed us. Where you made soup.
nah, digression is a part of reality, so we
I know, right?
digressed. But
Yeah.
yeah, so I'm just going to list these real quick.
Yeah, yeah.
And I know that, so if you're listening at home, you might want to grab a pencil or hit pause while you do that. So here are places, and I look at these like a checklist. They're literally when you look at the breadth and depth of a marriage, these are literally things that it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when.
Hmm.
You're going to experience some struggle, some conflict, lose your traction, whatever you want to say about it. It's going to be hard. And so these are the places I think where we have to be uber ultra careful about saying, let's do the easiest thing. Let's just do
Mm.
whatever's the most convenient,
Yep, yep.
because
Oh,
that's where we're going to find ourselves off the rails.
yep.
So let me give you the list. Here we go.
Okay. Bring it on.
The first one is communication. And communication, as we have learned, is not easy. So the easiest thing is going to be to not communicate or not communicate well. The second one is trust, which again is not easy. And nobody's ever going to do enough to earn our trust. We have to be willing to give it.
Mm.
The third one is intimacy and sexual compatibility. And that all sounds fine and good when we're young and the bodies are hot and things, everything works and there's no children in the way. It's that all changes.
Yep.
Well, not us. We were meant to be together. No, 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 that's not going to happen. The fourth one is financial disagreements. And not everybody's disagreements are huge or have a big chasm between side A and side B, but those, if not met, intentionally, when suddenly there's I'm not sure what we should do, or that's the time to attack that. That's the time to sit down and say, let's think deeper about this and let's move forward with it together. The fifth one is balancing individuality and togetherness. And I'm going to say that probably each stage of marital life has its own challenges with this,
Mhm.
but probably most specifically early marriage and later in a marriage when the house is empty and the nest has shrunk, or when these become more specifically issues for couples. And then number six, parenting and raising children. No two parents ever have lived. that have agreed on everything to do or how to do it.
Yep.
And boy, are we seeing the results right now
Mhm.
of people who say, let's do what's convenient and let's do what's easy
Mhm.
instead of let's do what's right
Yep.
that will set the bar a little higher
Yep.
and work for us and our children in the long run rather than just today.
Yep.
And then the seventh item is kind of the catch all external factors, stressors. Some we know about, some catch us by surprise. Some we've heard about and dealt with and know people who have, and some are like, never saw that coming.
Mhm.
Couldn't have imagined this ever being an issue for us. So when these types of things come in, and like I said, it's a checklist. Just go ahead and put this list down and put it on the refrigerator. And usually it doesn't take long for all of these things to be a part of contentious thoughts, ideas, beliefs, and behaviors in the midst of a marriage.
Well, yeah, I mean, as you went through this whole thing, I think we hit all of them. Like, no joke. We've had conflict and disagreement in all of these areas, probably multiple times. And I want to give a piece of hope here. I'm so excited about this. My husband and I spent 3 hours on Saturday, and it flew by talking about money.
Oh,
Yeah. And it was amazing. Like it was just incredible. And for us to be able to do that, like we've had probably hundreds of little conversations that have been like, okay, we need a break.
that went
Okay, let's
sideways.
yeah,
Yeah.
let's not do this. Okay, we can't do this right now. Yeah, and for whatever, like there's been so much healing, and we sat down at 10 a.m. And then I thought, oh, I'm getting a little hungry. What time is it? And it was 1 o'clock. I was like, what? Oh my, we've been at this for like 3 hours. How did this happen? And it was an incredible, wonderful, awesome conversation. And if you'd have told me 10 years ago that we'd be doing that, I'd have gone, yeah, hell will freeze over first. Like, no. And but I'm living proof that God can work in all of us and move us into a higher level of being. And so as I look at these lists and I go, yeah, all that's common, absolutely. And there's ways to navigate all of that and emerge on another side where we're more holy and healthy and connected with our spouse.
Oh, you
So
want me to follow that story?
I'm so, well, it's a
Yeah,
good story. Sorry.
it's a great story, and I
It's so
got
great.
nothing. Yeah,
Okay.
that's how that works.
Well, you
No,
do have advice. Yeah, you do have some suggestions for us around, okay, what do we do with this? How can we-
always,
Yeah.
always, plenty of suggestions. But yeah, and we don't want to make it overwhelming in terms of well, what do we do to avoid this? That's a lot, seven areas, and that's not
Yeah.
all.
Right.
Those are just the ones that kind of popped out, over a brief period of time when I'm kind of, scratching some things out for the podcast. But it it there are many more things that are going to some are going to creep in and some are going to hit us full in the face, and that's the reality and the design of life, whether we like it or not.
Yeah.
So, but I think the things that we do to combat these are going to be fairly consistent across the board. And just as I'm going to share two or three things here that I think we can be better at
Hmm.
than we are, that will knock this other stuff down and allow us to make it manageable and navigable. Because sailing through it without a wave on the ocean or without a speed bump is not reality.
No.
So making it navigable and making it to we can get through this. And sometimes it's not easy and the road is bumpy. But yeah, I have a few ideas. So are you ready?
I'm ready. Bring it
Y'all
on.
ready for this? All right.
Yep.
The first one I'm gonna bring to us is something we hear a lot about, but I don't think we can hear it enough. And that's compromise and flexibility. It's understanding that no two people are ever going to be together and agree on everything and how to do everything and what they want to do and when they want to do it and what the long-term goals are compared to the short-term goals. And so unless one person just rolls over and says, we'll do whatever you want every single time. And I've not met that person yet. But unless that happens, then we've got to learn to compromise. We've got to learn to give in areas when we'd rather take.
Hmm.
Got to learn to be flexible and bend in areas where we'd rather be firm and stable. And well, bending doesn't mean we're unstable, but I think you get the picture.
Got to
Um,
have our way.
yes,
Got to be
yes,
right.
every time,
Yeah.
of course. So compromise and flexibility. I'm just kind of looking at this list, and the one that jumps out at me first is balancing individuality and togetherness.
Hmm.
I'm going through this thing right now where I'm reaching the age of accountability in my 60s. Now, reaching the age of, I'm going to call it a retirement glide because retirement is nowhere in sight. But I start to think about it, and I
Yeah.
start to make my schedule and the things that I do where I have a little more time for me.
Hmm.
And then that has turned itself into a work area, a little wood shop and work area. And I can find myself sometimes getting into situations where my mind starts going there after working all day with people and being empathic and connecting and validating and the things that a therapist does. There's a point at which, like, okay, I'm done with all that. I need to go where there are no people.
Yes.
Maybe not even me. My body walks in there, but the rest of me is still somewhere else. But I've got to be careful about that. I
Mm.
can't just make that my goal each day is to get away from the desk and the computer and the monitor and the people and get out there because, oh, that's right. I'm still married
Yeah.
in spite of all that.
Yeah. And
I'm
she
still
actually
married and
likes
there's
you. Yeah.
she
A
likes
lot.
me and she wants to spend time with me
Yeah.
and I her. So I've got to learn to balance the things I
Mhm.
want to do and the things I need to do and the things that we need to do and want to do together as well. I've got to listen to the things she wants to do because I mean, I'll not lie about it. There are things she wants me to do with her, places she wants me to go with her, and things like I don't want to go. I don't want to do.
Yeah.
No, let me stay home. There are things like that, or not many, but sometimes that does happen, and it's imperative to understand. This is a part of the give and take. This is
Yep.
the compatibility is good on the surface, but it requires some compromise as we move along in life.
Yep.
And it's just something we got to be reminded of time and time again because we are, as a rule, by nature, selfish creatures.
Oh, yeah. Yep. And we're to treat others as better than ourselves, but we're also supposed to take care of ourselves. And we are the temple of the Holy Spirit. So it's this balance that you have to have in there it matters. And you go through periods, I think, in marriage where somebody's got a little higher needs because of something going on at work,
Yeah.
and needing more time with their spouse to, just, oh, can I be with somebody that likes me? You know, that kind of thing. And if we don't have that awareness and we're not flexible in that space, then what we're doing is we're not honoring our covenant. In
Yeah.
we've made this promise. Most of us said something like in sickness and in health, for better or for worse. Yeah, so the
I got to really
worst.
do that.
Yeah, we got
Oh,
to
those
do
were
it.
just the words.
Yeah, yeah. Sometimes the worst is really bad. Are we going to hang in there and believe God?
Yeah.
Because that's what this journey is about, is
Well,
believing.
this reminds me of the rule I use with couples. I call it the 100-100 rule. And the compromise and flexibility comes with a no scorekeeping expectation.
Yeah,
If you're a scorekeeper, this is not going to work for you.
right. Yeah,
Okay. If you're, well, it's your turn to do because I did. It's okay to sometimes say it. I need a break. It's your turn. But
yeah.
but when we look at say, I don't want to compromise now because I compromised last time.
Hmm.
Matter of fact, I've been the one out of the last 10 times to compromise 7 out of 10. Well, that kind of goes back to the 50-50 rule, which is each of us need to bring 50% to the marriage. And I say, "Bah."
Yeah.
Each of us need to bring 100% to the marriage. It has to be 100 endeavor,
Yep.
or we're going to get snagged and caught up in the petty stuff.
Yep.
And so compromise and flexibility requires two people who are both going to bring 100% of their game. And not, they're never going to say, all I need is 50, all I need is 50%. If I can muster 50%, and no, no, it's not going to
So
work.
I'm listening to this voice in my head going, yeah, but what about the new moms? Yeah, I need to bring 100% of myself to this marriage thing. And I'm exhausted now because I have this thing that if I don't get up every 2 hours, it's gonna die. Like there's that.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
what a segue into the next thing, because this, I've never seen a new mom who didn't put her 100% in before noon.
Yeah.
Okay. And it never had anything to do with even a word with the husband.
Yeah.
Okay. But a good husband who has empathy,
Hmm.
who sees, experiences the stress and the difficulty of what it's like to be a new parent, and says, well, there are parts of it that I can't take part in, but most of it I do. I understand that you're under a much greater stressful situation here. And see, empathy leads to the ability to compromise and be flexible.
Fair. Yeah.
When you look at someone else's circumstance and you not only see it and understand it, but you feel it as well.
Hmm.
You know, there's a part of it that's familiar to me because I've experienced it too. You know, I know that you're tired because you were up 4 times overnight and you're this and that. I'm tired too because every time you were up, I woke up
Yeah.
and I wondered how things were going and I didn't go right back to sleep. But my responsibility is nothing compared to yours right now.
Hmm.
So let me be for you what you can't be for yourself.
Hmm. I love that. I do you think it's, and this is gonna sound really sexist, but um most of the women I deal with, and it may just be the people that are coming to me because they're struggling in their marriage, but and this
Sure.
may be a reason why. But with men, it seems like that's a challenge to see empathetic men. Like they don't see the opportunity for nurturing the same way that women do. Would you say that's pretty accurate? Like in general, I don't want to label the entire gender, but it seems to be kind of a thing.
Yes, it does, but in my ongoing continual attempt to take over the world, I'm beginning to see it slip in a positive direction.
Yeah.
I don't want to take over the world. I just want to influence it a little bit.
Yeah.
I do see that getting better.
Hmm.
Maybe it's because I see way more men coming to therapy now
Yeah, that's true.
and discovering the need for empathy,
Hmm.
through therapeutic questioning and narrative questioning. People are realizing sometimes I pretty much think of myself most all the time.
Yeah, I think that's pretty common. And when women lead with complaint, you always did it, like you just discourage your husband, and then he doesn't know what you need unless you ask. And he's not going to just do stuff because in man language, that's communicating, I don't think you can handle this. So he's going to respect you
Ouch.
until you ask.
Yeah. Yeah. And so that, what's the big theme of this whole thing we're doing? What to say and
Yeah.
how to say it.
Yeah.
And the same thing is being said through a complaint or through a request. Which one's going to get answered first?
Yeah. What's effective?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
good
And I think
example.
we get more empathetic when we deal with our junk, when because we've got so much pain from stuff that's happened to us in our childhood and all that other stuff, that is a filter and we can't see empathetically. We don't have the compassion of Christ in those spaces because we're still hurting, we're still selfish. And so that's one of the reasons we really do a lot of healing prayer in the ministry because it really helps people move forward in this space. So you've got compromise and flexibility. We've got empathy. What's the other one?
the one nobody wants to hear.
Oh, okay. Bring it on.
Because if you're around me much, you hear it very frequently. But it's to roll the sleeves up. It's to put whatever footwear on that is necessary for the task.
Hmm.
And it's to do the opposite of what the path of least resistance suggests.
Yeah.
Walk uphill,
Hmm.
do things intentionally, be ready and willing to put forth extra effort.
Yep.
And that flies in the face of what our culture is doing right now. The least effort possible. I don't want to teach my kids about values and character and so forth. I'm going to let TikTok do that instead.
Whoa. And it is.
I'm going to let little 6 or 8 or 10 second snippets of video of people I don't even know doing God knows what
Yep.
have a greater influence on my child's character than I do, because for me to put that influence in there, it's inconvenient. And it is. Yes, it is.
Yep. It's
Being a
work.
parent is one of the most inconvenient things I've ever done.
It's illegal to have TikTok in Montana. They
To
banned
even,
it from the state.
well,
I don't know how you do that, but
small steps.
I know. I was like, go Montana.
Yeah,
All right. Well, whatever. But I mean, yeah, when you look at what's happened to young girls in this culture, and they've had just a brutal beating into not knowing who they are. Their identities are in
yeah,
crisis. It's devastating.
yeah. And it doesn't matter who you are. The more of something that you let into your mind, the
Hmm.
more likely you are to be influenced by it.
Yep.
It doesn't matter how old you are, what experiences you've had. We just can't get around it. And so when they're flooded, you know, with this stuff, this bilge in large part,
Hmm.
of people who have no character, who are not godly in any way, saying what they want to say, doing what they want to do, and influencing our children, they're going to struggle to develop the kind of character that we would prefer, which would be, the character of Christ.
Yeah. Well, and a lot of those videos and things on social media are here's how it should be, complaints, the rants. Somebody sent me I don't have TikTok anymore. Somebody sent me a video and I went on there and watched their video, and then it went to the next one, and it was just this woman having a rant about this thing her husband did. And I'm like, I don't need to see that.
Yeah,
I just closed out of it. But it's like, are you hanging out with people that all they do is complain about their spouse? Are you looking for what's wrong? It is work to be grateful until it's not. It is a habit you
absolutely.
have to form. You have to work on that because you don't see change. You don't see the positives. I had a client this week that was like, oh, he wants me to get the kids put to bed earlier so that we can talk afterwards. And he was really grumpy about the whole thing. And um, he asked me, what I thought about it. And she said, I told him I'd support him in whatever. And he's like, there you go. You're not taking any initiative with this. And she's like, I just don't like it. It's so discouraging. I said, you can look at it like that. Or you can look at it like this dude wants to spend time with you, girl. Like, hello, come on now.
Yeah,
What lens are you going to look at your life through? The Holy
yeah.
Spirit or the enemy?
Well, and I'm finding that probably right now to be the number one thing that I believe our parents need to be far more diligent in teaching their children, and that is that of intentionality. Understanding that things aren't just going to fall in line for you.
Right.
You may put forth a modicum of effort and get a little bit of success. The rest of your life is not going to build itself on that. We have to become more intentional. I'm saying that as an absolute. We must become more intentional about all kinds of things, but most specifically for our purposes, our marriages.
Yeah.
We have to start putting in the work when we don't even know what the work is.
Yep.
Because as you were talking about a while ago, I can't remember now what it was, but something that we're seeing over and over and over again. And if that becomes the thing that's on your mind, that's what you're going to see. If that's what you're pursuing, you were fault.
Mhm.
Someone was at fault. If you're looking for people's faults, you're going to find them.
Yeah, they're always there.
And then you're not just going to find them. You're going to find some that might be close to fault, and you're going to turn it into a fault in your own
Yeah,
mind.
I know, right?
But
Yep.
yeah,
We become
but
what we
we
think
have to
about.
be intentional. We have to, I pat clients on the back all the time and say, you did the work.
Hmm.
And that's what makes you different.
Yeah.
Because an average person just being left, you know, to float in whatever wind blows that day is going to choose not to do the work.
Yep.
And you're doing the work, you're being intentional, you're going after things, you're not waiting for them to come after you. And that turns all kinds of things around.
Yep. So if we want to keep our train on the track, so to speak, and make the long haul to the station, which is the destination of doing life with your best friend and working through your stuff together, right? That's what that commitment, that covenant is all about. We have to choose the hard. And by the way, divorce is also hard.
Oh,
And then trying to hang out with your kids and swapping them back and forth, that's really hard. You're still
mhm.
around that person. So choose your hard. Choose the hard that God planted for you, which is to stick it out and figure it out. And if you want some help with this, drop over to our website, greaterimpact.org, and you can get some free resources there and give you a little bit of help on the way. And if you're in Texas, I want to just give Kyle a chance to how do we get a hold of you if we live in Texas and we want to do some remote therapy or in-person stuff?
Well, you can either contact me via email at Kyle Hargrove, LPC at gmail.com, or you can contact headway.co, and you can find me on the roster there.
Awesome. Well, let's keep moving forward in our marriages and stay on the track because that brings glory to God.
I just had a mind-blowing idea.
Okay.
Okay, how do we combat these 7 areas of ice, baby, intentionality, compromise, and empathy? Put some
Oh,
ice on it. There you go.
oh, oh, that's good. That's good. Put some ice on it.
That's it. That's all I got. I'm done.
It's good. Way to end. That's awesome.
That's my pencil
All
drop
right.
moment. So,
Yeah, mic drop, mic drop. Yeah. So check out our next episode, dealing with conflict. Like there's so much here resource wise. And be sure to hit that subscribe button so you get more of this. Love you guys. We'll talk soon.